Hey, Vince.
Hey, Erin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good,
Happy
good.
Friday.
Thank you. I'm ready for it. I am ready for it. Um, so I wanted to ask you about something today, Vince. I think you know that my husband works at an institution of higher education, and he's one of these folks where it's like he's the everything guy, and that includes a website administrator for his program, his department. And so you're probably familiar with that, with your background in higher ed,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking about like the sheer volume of content that higher ed websites, and be that, a department, a program, even a course. Sometimes a course will have a website, but just the sheer volume that these folks have to manage, right?
hmm
Um, have you have you seen that at all? Is that like a common issue that you've come across?
Yeah. I mean, there's the regular content changes that happen with like courses and staff and that sort of thing. And then on top of it, you have to do publishing of regular content as well throughout the year. So it could be blog posts, could be something about modality or some new teaching technique that's changed, and that's ongoing throughout the year too. So it could be done
Right.
by lots of different people.
That's I hadn't even thought about that. The institution itself is structurally dynamic in terms of you're always turning over students and course requirements and things like that. But then it's almost in a sense culturally dynamic because like you said, new modalities, new, this is the way we're teaching this, or this is this recent discovery. And that
hmm
just puts the burden. I can't think of outside of just like maybe independent research organizations, any other institution or entity that has just this constant evolution and growth of
Sure.
content that has to be managed in a web environment.
Yeah, there's research, there's grants that people might win, awards, like all the good stuff that you want to get out there too, on top of the day-to-day service of the students that goes on throughout the year. So,
Yeah. And so that makes me think about audience too. So, like, let's say I'm a site administrator. I'm sure I have multiple audiences, but two that come to mind right away for me are prospective students. I need to give them the information they need to select, either my university, my department, my program, what have you, even my course. Um, and then I have my current students. I got to keep them informed and updated. And sometimes the website is even used as part of the actual teaching experience. Maybe
mhm,
materials go up there and things like that. Um,
sure.
so that's a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're right, because deadlines change all the time when you need to apply, when course catalog's going to be updated. Yeah, there's a ton for sure that happens.
And what a lot of people that aren't in higher ed might not realize, and I just brought up the example of my husband, is that it's not like it is like if you're in oftentimes in a corporate environment, you have your marketing staff and they're managing the website, and that's what they do, and they take care of it for you. Other people might, provide the information to those folks, but they're managing the website. That's not really possible in an institution as big as, I mean, whether it's a small university or a big university, the demand for, people to manage websites is really intensive.
Yeah, even as we keep peeling back the onion, it's like, oh yeah, there's programs that change, there's requirements that change. It's like, yeah, it's always changing, even when there are things that are scheduled, like beginning of the semester, um, summer session, 4 week, 8 week sessions, all that stuff. They change too along the way, even after they first get published. So, yeah,
Right,
especially
right.
in the past 2 years with
So you
COVID.
can't just do the sort of set it and forget it. You really need to be on top of it.
hmm
And I think in the past, expectations too for your audience might have been a little lower. Like you could just continually throw up your information. I don't mean literally, but you could just put it up on the site and, you know, say, well, you got to kind of dig through and find it. But now with user experience being such a, you know, high demand part of the web user experience, like I go onto a website, I have expectations about what I'm going to find there and how I'm going to be able to navigate all of that content. How has higher ed, what are some of the things that folks in higher ed have done in order to like bridge this crazy distance between tons and tons of constantly changing content and user experience requirements to be able to quickly and easily find what it is that you need? What are some of the things you've seen people do to solve that?
It's not atypical to have people whose job, like you said, is like they don't publish on a website for their main duty or role. And there's lots of times very technically diverse knowledge on the teams. So some of the things that higher ed has done is lots of times there's a course catalog. And so developing a way to get that content distributed among the different department websites is one of the ways. Another way is to make it as easy as possible. For example, we use WordPress in many cases because we can finely tune the interface to certain roles and responsibilities. So if somebody's job is to just set up programs, we can help them focus by limiting what they see for publishing to just that. And so they may do it, some people may do it only 3 times a year, you know, at the beginning of each semester in the summer session. So it's not something that they may remember 4 months later, you know. So after 5 years, they may have only done it 15 times. So to make that as easy as possible for them and so they can get oriented right away is something that many institutions are doing that we work with. On the front end, to help, say, prospective students or other people find information quickly, we do lots of site architecture testing and thought goes into that process. We also provide ways for people to share that information quickly. So if somebody has a very large course catalog, we create filters and ways to break that down so that they can bookmark it and just come right back to it. Or it can be sent in an email or a text or something like that, so that they don't have to go back and go through the whole process again, because again, they may not do that, you know, every day. So to go back and remember where things are, as easy as you try and make it, it may be more helpful just to provide a link that they can bookmark and say, okay, these are the courses that I need to take to get through my program, and that sort of thing. And then as institutions for and departments for promoting themselves, if somebody's really interested in a program, there is this level of personalization that is done as well to provide the content that somebody is interested in. So say somebody is interested in electrical engineering, and you know, engineering overall is a very broad discipline. Right. But to provide content that's relevant to somebody who is into electrical engineering or looking for information about the electrical engineering department, by bubbling that content to the homepage or using it in marketing emails or other newsletter type of emails, provides that level of relevancy to that person in particular, and speaks to their interests and what they may be choosing as a career in the future. So
sure. So what I'm hearing you say is, like, I love the engineering example because there's there's electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and in a lot of ways, I mean, they might have engineering in the title, but they're pretty distinct. You know, you kind of know what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Um, and it can be really arduous, especially at a large university, to like dig through the catalog or dig through the offerings or just the basic information. So, what you're saying is that there are tools that make it possible so that a person who's expressed interest in one, let's just say, subdiscipline of engineering, ongoing, they will get content that is, whether they're visiting the website or signed up for a newsletter, that is directed towards their interests. And are you saying that's kind of automated? Like, I don't need to every single time send an e-newsletter, look up like, oh yeah, John Smith likes electrical engineering, so now I'm going to pull this content into a newsletter for him. Is that automated in the back end?
Yeah, it can be automated to provide only certain posts, what we call them posts in the WordPress world. But certain articles or content that goes out with that to that person. So yeah, so there's ways to publish content and sort of set up the personas or audience that would be interested in that content. Certainly, it can be done for a more general, like there's people who may just be interested in the content in general, but for people who are specifically interested in that discipline, there's ways to flag or tag pieces of content so that they see that content themselves first, as opposed to maybe another program that they're not as interested in.
Okay. So. Okay. So you don't have to swim through so much, and it's personalized, but not in a hyper personalized way. It's more general interests. That content is directed to a person who has the indicators through a number of, would that be like previous site visits? What are the things that how do you derive that information to know what is useful to that person?
There's several ways. One is by visiting, say a program page that is an indicator that, that they're a little warmed up, that they've made a click and they've visited that program. So then that gives us a way to start seeing and building out a more holistic view of this person's interests. The second way is by using CRMs, customer relationship management, so that you can start feeding that data in to your CRM and then use that to not only for engaging them through marketing and content or whatever, but it helps get them in contact. And we have some institutions that we work with, get them in contact with the right people. So now they've got a person they can ask questions of, that they can call, like advisors or enrollment coaches or whatever the institution's name for that kind of person is, so that maybe there isn't content on the website yet that they have questions about. They can contact that person and ask them those questions, or find out deadlines that maybe they don't know, or if they maybe have missed a deadline or not. So
right.
Yeah, so it goes. We talk about personalization and marketing and content, but really it's a way to provide relevant content to this person, not to market to them, but provide them with relevant content and ways for us to understand what they would like to see, and then also provide a better customer experience by saying like, okay, when somebody fills out a form that, thank you for filling out this form, John Smith is now somebody you can contact and ask questions of, and that's all done not through like an email inbox of filters, and we use automation in a CRM to assign a person to, let's say, that student. So They can get
Right.
even more personalized information by just flat out asking a question of this person. So I think that's really successful for customers or for institutions.
Yeah, it sounds like I like that you're kind of shortening the distance between let's say in this case prospective student and the student services provider, so that you can build that personal relationship more quickly, which is better for the student, it's better for the institution. Whereas if it's all just sort of this you know monolith of information and contacts and so forth, it's very difficult to enter into a relationship that matters to you, and that you can get your own you can get real information about what you're relevant to your needs directly from somebody, a person at the university. So that's facilitated through the website, but then at an important juncture, the university, the staff person takes on that relationship. Meanwhile, while that relationship is underway, that student, when they visit the website or when they need something, they again have that sort of, let's just say, personalized experience, so that they can really get everything that they need in order to make a decision, whether it's on, enrolling in the university, taking a course, whatever it is, because there's so many decision points that these tools need to support. So that's great. Thank you. That's really helpful.
And I don't know if you know this, but Google does personalization when you do a search. Like if you visit a certain number of pages, Google will do that. But Google doesn't index your site all the time, or it doesn't provide, it'll provide relevant results based on a search term, but it will not suggest content or give you necessarily the phone number of the exact person you should call, or, the program has been updated, 2 days ago. This is relevant to you. That kind of personalization, like you just don't. It's a level of service that some of the techniques that we use. It's not like having a person right next to you 24/7, because I don't think anybody wants that, and I don't think any institutions and normal organizations can't support necessarily one-on-one, but this is kind of a happy medium by having personalized content and marketing and contacts, rather than just relying on Google search algorithm to help find content. Like it'll help you get to the site, but considering how active sites are and how much they change, it may not be able to keep up, whereas some of the other techniques are much easier to help that person or that student.
Right, because and I'll just make this point real quick. As we said at the opening of our conversation, there's such a unique user experience need in a higher ed environment. So what Google does can work really great for maybe some other needs, just the level of personalization that they provide. But given the constantly changing nature of the content, given the very unique needs of the students, and also just the demands on the time of the staff and where they need to set their priorities at higher ed, utilizing some of these tools that you described, such as filtering, CRM, building a back end that can be easily managed by a multitude of staff within your department or program. Those are the things that will help you really do your job. So that's great. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. It's good to chat with you. I think we should keep this up. Maybe we can have another conversation sometime soon about some of the other cool things that we're doing with higher ed. I know you have a vast experience in things like accessibility, again with personalization, setting up websites and different platforms and what those requirements are. So in the future, we'll get to some of that stuff. And so have a great day and
Sounds
have a
good.
great weekend.
Okay. See you
Thanks.
later, Erin.
Bye.
Bye.